episode of 3 years later. Back in December, I sat down and planned out a few videos that I wanted to film throughout 2022, and one of them was this video. So I have been looking forward to doing this challenge since December. I have been waiting. I've been so excited. Let me let you in on a little secret here. I already did the challenge. This is the day after the challenge. I originally filmed this intro like the day of starting, and the footage is all out of focus. So lucky me, I get to do it again. If you don't know, I did this challenge 3 years ago. That's why I decided to do it in May, so it would be exactly 3 years later. I uploaded it in May of 2019, and that video still gets decent interaction. People still comment on that video and find me from that video, which is frankly it's a little embarrassing just because that video, the quality of that video and the art in it was not good. So people seem to still like that video, which is just embarrassing. So I thought, I'll just do it again, but better, hopefully. There's a lot that I have to say about this challenge, what it is, why I'm doing it, how I did it the first time, how it was this time. Plenty of stuff I have to say, but for right now, I'm just gonna talk about one thing. I had two main goals going into the challenge. One was to complete it. The first time that I did this back in 2019, you may know if you saw the video, I didn't finish. I tapped out, I think at around 93 heads. So this time, my main goal was just to complete the heads. If I completed the heads, I would be happy. My secondary goal was to make them look good. Usually when people do the 100 heads challenge, it's to improve their portraiture ability. I already feel confident in portraiture. Not that there's no room for improvement, but that wasn't my main goal or motivation for this challenge. So I made myself the goal of working on kind of composition in sketchbooks, making the heads look good, making the spreads look good, and trying new things in terms of I don't know, graphic design, I guess. So yeah, I had the two main goals of finishing the heads and making the spreads look good. And then besides that, I had soft goals that I wasn't making rules for myself for, but I was keeping in mind. The first time I did Meds 100 heads, I attempted to use a different medium for every 10. And that, I don't think I really did that. And I wasn't going to make that a rule for myself this time, but I was gonna try just because I knew I would get bored otherwise. But like I said, not a rule, it was just something I was keeping in mind. I was not against repeating mediums. I wanted to complete it in 10 days. I don't think it's a bad thing to take longer than 10 days. I think that's totally fine and understandable. But because all I do all day is sit and draw, I definitely wanted to do it within 10 days. And finally, I was looking to improve within my portraiture ability somewhat. I wasn't looking for a drastic change between 1 through 10 and 91 through 100, but I was hoping to kind of get past that failure mentality I have sometimes. While I do definitely feel better about my ability to draw heads, there is, every once in a while I'll try to draw a head and it just won't work. It just will not work, and instead of trying to make it work, I'll just erase it and do a different head. So sometimes there's some heads that I just can't do. They just look wonky and they look weird, I can't do them. And for this challenge, because I had a Pinterest board of 100 heads, I didn't have wiggle room. If I wasn't doing well on a head, I just had to make it work. I had to fix it instead of erasing it and trying a different head. I couldn't switch out the pictures on my board, so I had to make these heads work. And so I was excited to find heads that challenged me and to succeed rather than failing. And so on May 10th, I sat down, and with those goals in mind, I began to draw 100 heads. Okay, so let's start off with what is the 100 Heads Challenge, or Med's 100 Heads? This is a challenge started by Ahmed Al-Douri back in, I think, 2019. He's an amazing artist. You definitely know him. But in case, for some reason, you don't, go check him out. His channel will be linked down below, as well as the video talking about this challenge. Also, not to flex, but he does follow me on Instagram, just so you know. The 100 Heads Challenge is an art challenge in which you draw 10 heads for 10 days, totaling 100 heads, Ahmed's intended purpose being to improve your portraiture ability. He made a Pinterest board for this challenge, which I used the first time I did it, but I made my own this time, which I'll talk about later. But I'm going to link both my board and the original one in the description in case you're interested. Also, that way you can see where I'm getting all my photos from. It's down there. Like I said, the main goal of the challenge is to improve at portraiture, but since the challenge was created, it's definitely taken on its own culture, basically. I think there's also a 50 heads challenge, and a lot of people take longer than the 10 heads the 10 days to do the 100 heads. They go at their own pace, they do it for their own reasons, which I think is such a great thing. You can really make this challenge your own, you know what I mean? You can cater to your own needs. Whether you want to practice consistency, making a habit of drawing daily, or your sketching methods, whatever, people go at their own pace, they do their own thing. I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool to see. In Ahmed's original video, he encourages people to like get creative and like do whatever they want, make it work, as long as they do like the 100, and like don't listen to anyone who tells you like it doesn't count for whatever reason. So even the king himself says no pressure. Okay, so let me explain the Pinterest board really fast. I didn't love the original one. Objectively, in terms of like an artist developing their skill, it is objectively a really good board with great selections. But like I personally did not enjoy some of the photos, and I really didn't want to draw them again. There were a lot of sculptures of like goblin-y men and like weird faced dudes with extreme expressions, which I think are great additions to the board because it's definitely different and challenging, and it's an aspect to faces that you might not have explored otherwise. But like I likely will never be drawing that kind of thing, so I don't really care to practice it, to be honest. Also, I've talked about this before, but I hate drawing the same thing twice. I really do. It's this weird mental block thing. I don't like drawing the same thing twice most of the time. Like if I've drawn it before, I likely will never want to draw it again. Most of the time that's the case. And so the idea of drawing the same 100 drawings for a second time, it sounded like torture for me, you know? So I decided that I would just make my own board that catered a bit more to what I personally like and want to work on and, you know, would enjoy. You know what I mean? I tried to keep some diversity of like aesthetics and whatever in there, like age diversity. I have some kids, some older people, some facial hair, things like that. So it wouldn't all just be like the same 3/4 profile of a feminine looking person that I tend to enjoy drawing over and over and over again. But yeah, in hindsight, I think it would have been cool to draw the same heads again so I could directly compare them from 3 years ago to now. But also I did really enjoy making the board, drawing things that I personally found interesting and fun rather than being told what to draw. I was thinking, actually, I think it would be cool to try again in the future and do half of the original 100 heads board and then half of the board that I'm using this time so that I could compare from 3 years ago to now to whatever I do in the future. I think that could be fun. Anyways, I have a lot to talk about, but we're going to start with my tips and advice for people who also want to try this challenge. First of all, don't be scared or intimidated by the size of the challenge or the time limit. I know that that is easier said than done, but if the time issue is what's holding you back, don't let it, honestly. There is absolutely no problem with taking more time to complete the challenge. Like, seriously, oh my god, like, I genuinely cannot stress this enough. 10 days is ridiculous. I have no idea how I did it the first time while still being in school. I must have been like neglecting all other responsibilities to draw these heads because like honestly, they took up all my time this go round. I don't know how someone with a full-time job could also find time to squeeze in a 5-hour drawing session every day for a week and a half. So if you need to take a little longer, go ahead, no shame. I have gotten a lot of comments of people saying like they started but they had to quit because it was taking too long, or they're kind of embarrassed that they're taking longer. Don't be, man. It's a hard challenge. Don't like take it as much time as you need, honestly. Do what you have to do to make it work for you. I would, however, recommend that you try not to take too many breaks or large gaps between drawing days, just because, like, in my opinion, having that very consistent practice is what makes this challenge so beneficial. So if possible, try not to skip too many days. Take breaks when you need it. Don't kill yourself trying to get it done. Don't push yourself past the point of no return. Don't draw yourself into an art block or burnout. Take care of yourself when you take on a large challenge like this. Go slowly if you need to, but remember that consistency is key a lot of the times. If completing the challenge within the 10 days is really important to you, but you still aren't sure about having the time to do it, I suggest setting yourself a timer for each head. You're doing 10 heads a day, so even 10 minutes is already over an hour and a half, so keep that in mind. Limiting the time spent on each head can definitely help you keep your drawing time down, but it also adds a whole other challenging element. I think it could be great to help you with efficiency and confidence, so it might be worth it for you. But remember that it might make it a little harder. You also don't have to limit your time with every head every day. Maybe you only do it to save time on certain days. you know, you can think strategically about this. But in general, I think limiting your time spent on every head is going to help you overall manage your time wisely. I also recommend drawing small. I see a lot of people do this challenge and they draw these really, really big heads that require a lot of detail. Sometimes people will do like these multiple fully rendered or like painted heads every day. And that's awesome if that's what you want to do. Pop off, but oh my god, you're going to be tired. If you're unsure about your ability to do this challenge, I would not recommend you go 110%. You know what I'm saying? Keeping your heads and spreads small will make the whole challenge much more manageable. Don't make them so small that you can't add any detail and you're too cramped to work, because like what would be the point? But try not to take up like half a page with one head. As for the number of heads, 100 heads is a lot. It's a lot. I think if you're really looking to work on your portraiture skills, 100 is a really good amount to draw in this time span to see some real development. And of course, 100 is just a really impressive number for an artistic challenge like this. I'll be honest though, as someone going in not really looking to work on my portraiture ability, 100 definitely felt excessive. So if you're going into this challenge and you're a little wary that you'll be able to stay super motivated and excited for the entire 100, maybe you're a little worried you'll get bored or it won't keep your attention, I'm definitely recommending adding some other element to it. Whether it be giving yourself a more relevant goal to work on, like I wanted to work on composition, adding a time element or switching up your mediums like I did, adding something more relevant to you or switching stuff up regularly will really help make these 100 heads feel less monotonous. If you're going into this challenge really hoping to better your face drawing skills, I think sticking to sketching is really smart. Not that you can't do other things, obviously, but I think in terms of learning facial anatomy, keeping it simple and focusing on that one goal is the quickest way to do that. If you're someone that like kind of wants to do it, but you're not sure like what the point is, I also have something to say about that as well. Obviously, the original goal of the challenge is to get better at faces. I think we've established that. But I really think that just about anyone can use this challenge for their own goals, like to a certain extent, of course. Like if you want to get better at drawing buildings, maybe don't do 100 heads, you know? But just think about what you'd like to get better at in your art practice and cater the challenge to that. And even if you don't think this challenge has anything to offer you in terms of developing skill, I'll be honest, it just feels cool to have completed something like this. And if you don't want to do it, like that's fine. I don't care. I'm not trying to make anyone do it or like convince anyone, but I think it's really fun. And I think challenging ourselves as artists is a great way to learn and grow, even if we don't have a particular goal in mind. You know, getting out of comfort zones. It helps you to feel accomplished, feel proud of yourself. It shakes things up a bit. It reminds you that you can do different things. You want to do different things. You like learning and growing. Oftentimes we can stay so long in our comfort zones we forget things like that, you know? For me, the 100 heads really reminded me that like, I like accomplishing things. I like doing things that require motivation and dedication, and I like being able to say I did those things. So yeah, even if you're not sure why you'd want to do the 100 heads challenge or if you'd benefit, I really think it can be a great morale booster if you have a good experience. I think it's worth considering. Of course, all that being said, not everyone has a good time doing this challenge. Not everyone works well under these conditions. You know, I'm not your dad. Even if for some weird reason I did want to tell you what to do, you don't have to listen to me. I can't make you do anything. So if no part of you is intrigued or interested in trying this challenge, you don't have to. No pressure. You know, you can just watch me do it. That works too. That works just as well. Okay, today is day 6. It's about 1:30. It's the 16th. I meant to film, I was gonna do a midway point, talking to the camera thing, and then I forgot yesterday. So I remembered today. I did all the sketches for day 6. It's still kind of halfway. I haven't done them yet, so yeah, I just wanted to do a check-in, see how it's going, how it's progressing. I've noticed that there's at least one dud portrait per every 10. There's one that just does not look good. I'm hitting the point where I really don't know what other mediums I want to do. Today I was really trying to think of I didn't want to do anything. I haven't been wanting to do anything that takes too much effort. I want to do things that are easier and will kind of go faster. And so I decided I'm going to do colored pencils today, but I did not want to. I've been avoiding doing that because that's a lot of work. I've definitely, it's been fine. I've had plenty of time in the day to do it. It hasn't been a huge obstacle. The heads haven't given me issues. It's been fine so far. But today, day 6, I definitely kind of feel I'm at the hump point. it just definitely kind of feels like, what's the point? Do I really need to do this today? I really like the way they've been turning out, and like that should be motivation enough for me to want to continue. And like I'm obviously like I'm going to, but like I don't know, it's just like, ugh, do I really have to do this today? You know what I mean? And after today, there's only 4 more days, so it's like not that big of a deal. It's not that hard. It's all I do all day. At least I have like something to do, and like I don't have to think about like what I'm gonna draw today, so that's really nice. But also like, oh my god, I'm so sick of drawing heads. I'm so sick of drawing heads. Okay, let's go. Let's do the color pencils. Here are some quick rapid fire tips if you think you want to do the challenge. Watch Ahmed's video about it first. Not because it'll explain the rules or anything, but I think he has some really great and reassuring insight about the challenge. And even if you're going to put your own twist on the challenge, hearing the creator's thoughts about it could help you kind of move in the right direction or get in the right headspace. Be as prepared as possible. Have your references at the ready before you draw, have your supplies picked out, have meals planned in your head so you don't get like sucked into art and forget to eat. Do what you can to make the process as smooth as possible. Plan, what hours you're going to be drawing, when you're going to fit it in. Don't stress too much, don't cause extra stress for yourself. Don't worry about making your heads perfect, especially at first. Find something to entertain you in the background. Now's a great time to rewatch the Harry Potter movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, all the Star Wars movies. Rewatch your old favorite show, get into a new podcast. Make sure you keep yourself company so you don't go insane. It's 10 days of a lot of drawing. You're gonna get bored. Give yourself time to celebrate your accomplishments. Show off your heads to a friend at the end of the day. Be proud of how far you've gotten. Don't just force yourself to drag your feet past the finish line. Enjoy the whole process. So I wanted to start with some advice that I kind of formulated over the last week and a half of drawing these heads and thinking about how inaccessible it can be and how it could be more accessible, and what would I say to someone who was on the fence about trying it. I had a lot of time to think while drawing these heads. I don't know if you can tell. But I also wanted to talk about my experience with the 100 Heads Challenge, how it compared to my last attempt 3 years ago, or what I remember of it. 3 years ago was a long time. So like I said before, I was really excited to start the challenge. I wanted to prove to myself I could do it. I had been drawing quite a few portraits leading up to this, and I was having a really good and easy time doing it. So I was excited to see how easy the process of drawing heads would go. And maybe I jinxed myself and I suddenly wouldn't be able to draw heads again. I don't know. I was excited to see how it would go. And the main reason I was so excited was to see solid proof that I had improved in those past 3 years, which duh, I've improved because it's been 3 years. But also sometimes I look back at my art and think there's literally no difference. As I'm writing the script, I'm looking at my old 100 heads right now, and I feel like my style looks exactly the same. My skill level looks the same. In fact, I think some of the old heads might be better looking than what I do now. I don't know. It doesn't make me feel bad about myself. I'm not upset about that, but it also doesn't make me feel good about myself, So I was excited to find out, have some definitive proof whether or not I've improved at all. But I wasn't just looking at the head anatomy, I was looking at my ability to use these different mediums, and most importantly, the process of drawing them. I remember back during my first go-round, while I was confident in my final products when drawing, I was not confident in the process. I remember having to do multiple red pencil sketches for every medium, even when I was just going to be doing another sketch on top. Even for the graphite pencils, I did a red pencil sketch underneath the pencil sketch because I was so unconfident in my ability to draw without some sort of guideline. I think I look at that red pencil sketch under the graphite and it shocks me, I'm not gonna lie. I also remember really struggling to get the sketches right on most of the heads. I would have to do many sketches, fix and tweak things many times. There were some that just gave me hell. There were very few that I remember just doing very easily. It took work to get a good sketch. This time though, that was not the experience, thank God. There were probably one for every 10 heads that gave me a hard time, one head that I had to resketch once or twice to get right, or that didn't turn out the way I wanted. I had to do some adjusting sometimes, using sticker paper on top of pen to fix mistakes. Things weren't perfect all the time, but the ease of the process was just so drastically different. The confidence I have now is crazy in comparison to back then. I could use pen without a red pencil sketch beneath. I wasn't second guessing every decision I made. And like, just the fact that I could see and fix the mistakes I made this time is already a major difference from before. Also, I watched my old video again to kind of remind myself what it was like, and I noticed that even though the drawing like looks good as separate final products, I don't think I had the easiest time in making them accurate to the reference photo, which isn't a must. I don't think that's a bad thing. I just thought I would mention that. I think that's something I've improved on. I hope. I also want to point out that my watercolor skills back then, I have drastically improved in that area. I also don't really remember learning anything when I did it the first time. Like, I don't think I was trying to learn anything or had any goals in mind. I think I was just doing it for fun. And I don't remember walking away feeling as if I'd improved or as if I had like gained any knowledge from the experience. I definitely had my shaken a bit after the first try. Like, I remember the way some of the heads and like spreads turned out like made me ashamed, but I don't remember learning anything about portraits or my process. Now though, I feel like having the very repetitive task of drawing 10 portraits every day, I had plenty of opportunity to observe my own process and learn about it. You know, I had time to like notice things, or even things I already vaguely knew. I really like affirmed and solidified that knowledge, and I was able to understand it better. Like the fact that I always start with the eye closest to me or the most visible eye, and then I start doing the rest of the face. And at some point, I almost always have to erase the first eye because it's like a little bit too far over or like too big or too small. And so throughout the challenge, I worked on being more aware of that and trying to avoid that problem. And I think I actually made a bit of a difference, you know, in that area. I don't think I fully fixed the problem, but I feel way more in control of it now than I did before. Another thing that I thought was interesting in comparing the two experiences is time. I spent at least 3 hours every day drawing, sometimes more, like 5 or even 6. It was almost my entire workday, like every day. It was tiring and long, just long. And I know back when I did this the first time, my life was still very revolved around art. Like, I did it a lot. Like, my life was very much focused on art. But I was also a full-time student. I had a part-time job basically, and I hung out with friends pretty regularly. I genuinely do not know how I did this last time. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I've gotten slower at drawing, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I truly don't know. Speaking of time and stuff, I talked before about, you know, taking your time with this kind of challenge. I was a tiny bit worried that after the challenge, I would be very burnt out and unmotivated and uninspired. Not because the heads would like creatively exhaust me, but, you know, because I had drawn all day for 10 days in a row. And obviously, you know, we're all different with different lives and different experiences and different preferences. So just because I say this is how it went for me, doesn't mean this is how it will go for you. But I just felt really good after finishing the heads, like very motivated and ready to go. All week I had been getting ideas for things I wanted to do, but I just didn't have like time or energy because of the heads. So after the challenge, I felt like very free to do all these things that I now had time to do. I was tired, and I'm making myself take a break to give my wrist a proper rest, but you know, I didn't feel burnt out. I didn't feel drained of creativity or motivation, which is just a major relief. But my point is, like, I don't think repetitive tasks like this are inherently going to give you art block or burnout, which is a valid concern, but I think I kind of had that idea in my head that doing a repetitive thing for many days would give me burnout. But after this, I think it's a lot more complex than that. I'm not sure how to word this, but I think evaluating challenges and determining whether or not they're right for you is worth doing. Like, I knew that this challenge would not be disruptive to me because it's a subject that I love. So even though it's very demanding in many ways, it's long, it's difficult, it asks a lot of you, I knew that I had the ability to complete it and the resources and the time. And I knew that I wanted to do the challenge. I was confident that no matter what, I'd be seeing it through. Even if I got tired halfway through, even if the heads looked bad, I knew I was gonna finish. And if you're looking at a challenge like this and you're not sure you can give up the time or that you have the mental ability to handle something this taxing right now, like, you don't need to do something so extreme, you know? I see a lot of artists talking about challenges like this one and how it gave them art block, they couldn't finish it, all this very negative stuff. And I encourage people to evaluate themselves and these kinds of endeavors and really determine if it's going to push you too far. Pushing yourself is good, getting out of your comfort zone is how you learn, but you don't need to empty your tank all in one go for nothing, you know? For some people, doing something like this is no big deal. It's a fun challenge. You don't put too much self-worth or energy into it, so you can easily do it casually. But for some people, you need more time to wade into these kinds of things. And I think challenges like this, but less extreme and less demanding, are great ways to get to know yourself as an artist, to test your limits, to start exploring what you're capable of. I don't want anyone to be scared off from doing this because I'm making it sound like some Mount Everest of a challenge, because it might be easy for you. But for some people it is hard and it really does drain them. And I think we all need to be a bit more aware of our art health and take better care of ourselves, like as artists. So I thought it was worth mentioning, being aware of yourself and getting to know yourself as an artist before you commit to something huge like this, because it seems like it would be impressive. So between my first time doing the 100 Heads Challenge 3 years ago and doing it now, I'd like to say I've improved as an artist. I definitely think my skill has developed. I have way more confidence. I'm more experienced in different mediums. I'm better at creating cool spreads. And I think in general, the heads are better looking this time. I'd like to say that. I'd like to say that. But if I'm being honest, I'm not completely sure that that's true. Like logically it's gotta be, right? Like, I don't know if my brain is just totally fried from looking at so many heads, but I honestly can't tell if my old heads are better. Like, some of the old ones are for sure worse, for sure. But I don't know, some of the graphite ones and the tone paper ones, the colored pencil ones, I think some of those might be better. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. You guys, you'll have to let me know what you think. Go watch the old video. Let me know if you think I've improved at all. I really hope I have, but I don't know. But you know what? Even if the heads aren't actually better, this video is definitely going to be better than that one. So no matter what, it was worth doing. There we go. I drew 100 heads in 10 days. Started May 10th, completed May 20th. I started out in super high spirits. I was really excited for the first 4 or 5 days. I was loving it. I was having a lot of fun. I was loving experimenting with the mediums. I had plans. I was loving seeing the progress. And then day 6, I definitely had a mid-week hump day kind of thing. Day 6 and day 7, I just did not want to draw heads. I was tired and it felt like a waste of time to just keep drawing 10 heads every day. I think it took me about 3 to 5 hours every day. Some mediums took more time, some mediums took less. But so every day for 4 or 5 hours, I was sitting and drawing heads, and I'm not gonna lie, at times I was wondering, what's the point? This is a waste of time. If it weren't for the fact that this is my job, I would not do this. I would not be spending 5 hours every day drawing heads. But after day 7, I wasn't as excited and motivated, but I definitely wasn't dreading every day, and I was excited to finish it, and that was motivation enough. And day 10, I actually had a really good time. So overall, really good experience. I did end up kind of doing a different medium every day, if you can count neon colored pencils as a different medium than colored pencils. If you're willing to let it slide, so am I. In terms of my goals, completing in 10 days, 100 heads, check. I did that. Overall, I'm satisfied. I did what I wanted to do. My second goal of having good heads and good spreads, I'd say a solid 8 out of 10. I definitely could have gone more graphic in some of them. I like some of my decisions, some of them not so much. Colored pencils with the neon loopy background is probably my favorite spread and my favorite graphic choice design choice. And my least favorite spread is probably the colored liners with the colored backgrounds. The colored backgrounds was a last minute decision, and I really regret it. I really regret it. It does not look good. But overall, I'm happy with the spreads. They took up a lot of room in my sketchbook, so I'm almost done with the sketchbook, so that's a bonus. Besides that, my other goals, pushing through, failing at a head, I definitely dealt with that. There's probably about one flop portrait for each spread, And there were definitely some that like I really thought that they were just not gonna work, but I had to push through anyways, and I'm really glad for that experience. Despite feeling good about portraiture and my ability in that area, there were definitely challenging aspects to this, and I do feel like I learned in general coming out of this. That being said, honestly, I would love to do a challenge like this in an area that I'm not already confident in and like see how I feel with that. So if you have any ideas or you know of any challenges that are like similar to this but aren't portraits, let me know. I would love to try. But yeah, that's the video. Overall, I feel a lot better about this one than I do my previous one. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I just think the comparison is like really funny. Let me know what your favorite spread was, or like which number is your favorite head. I would love to know. Also, let me know your least favorite heads. I have my least favorites. I want to know what your least favorites are. We'll compare. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this video. I really like doing these long-term challenges. If you have any questions about it, leave it in the comments and I will be more than happy to answer. I am definitely going to take a break from drawing for a few days. Give my wrist a bit of a rest. That being said, go take a break, go take a walk, and go do some art.